NFL show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network, and as always, the NFL show is brought to you by betting.net. So make sure you check out betting.net for all your gambling needs. They find you the best place to bet, online casino or sports book. Whatever you state you live in will give you where it is legal to bet, what are the best books. Make sure you check out betting.net. All right, guys. This is what I like to call Christmas for the Detroit Lions. It's the only day they're relevant. They always pick in the top 5. They're number 2 this year. I am your co-host, Mike Goodpaster, and right now I want to welcome in my other co-host. First up, 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great. Glad to be back with you guys.
All righty. And, of course, we have a man who is chilling in Vegas right now, getting ready to go out to dinner with Adam Schefter here right before the draft. Help me welcome our NFL beat writer, Dan Kornhauser. How you doing, Dan?
Guys, I'm on cloud 9. I'm at the draft in Vegas, as you said, Mike. First time attending the draft, first time in Vegas. And honestly, this is better than Christmas, better than my birthday. If I had a kid, it'd be better than the day my kid was born. If I was married, it'd be better than my wedding day. This is a dream come true for me.
You know, someday when you get married and have a kid, me and Steve are going to constantly call her and the kid when the kid gets older and just play this recording.
That's just fine. She'll already know. Football's the only thing I love.
I need to get you credentialed for a woman, it sounds like.
Make football, not so much.
All right, the NFL draft, not a lot of buzz around this draft. This draft probably the worst one since we've seen in almost a decade, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big narratives that's been going on since, even during the season is that this class is very much lacking in high-end blue-chip talent. There's no, Trevor Lawrences or C.J. Strouds or Joe Burrows in this class. There's no Myles Garrett's, no Joey Bosa's, no premier edge rushers. It's a nice class, it's deep. You can find some good players in the second, third, fourth round, but it's just not quite right. Not quite right at all. Next year's class is going to be so much better by comparison, and people are going to compare this year's class and next year's class, and it's going to be like night and day.
All right, so we're going to start off with what most people talk about all the time. This is not a great quarterback class. I just want to get your feeling. Who is the best quarterback in this class, Dan?
Well,
put it like this. Do you think there is any quarterback ready to come in and start at the NFL level as a rookie?
I'd say the most NFL-ready guy by default is Kenny Pickett. He is the oldest quarterback. He's been a starter for 5 years, and he's gotten better each year. He's got everything you look for physically. He's a leader. He played great this past season at Pitt. He's the only one that I would say you could start as a rookie. I still wouldn't be comfortable doing so, at least early on, because he, like all these quarterbacks, he's going to need to work on a few things, but he is the most NFL-ready quarterback in this class, for what it's worth.
Yeah, and I think when you look at him, he's got functional mobility. He's got toughness as a runner. Those things are kind of similar to Joe Burrow. That's pretty much similarities end. To me, I think there's a lot of upside with Pickett. Put it like that, if that makes any sense.
No, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's actually something that's been floated around quite a bit. That's why when you're looking at Carolina, Seattle, Atlanta, etc., all these teams in the top 10 that need quarterbacks, you don't feel comfortable slotting one of these guys there, because even a guy like Pickett, as good as he might be, his ceiling isn't that high. We're not looking at a potential Burrow type or Herbert or Mahomes or one of those front line guys that can really make your team a contender. He could be.
Well, I think this, though, when you look at this, aren't these guys kind of like Mahomes? And the reason I say that is Mahomes had to sit a year to get ready. Most people thought coming into the draft he wasn't ready, but they developed him. And I do think there's 5 or 6 guys here that in the perfect system can be developed into being a starting NFL quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think that's too far-fetched to say. The Mahomes thing, yeah, everyone knew he had to sit for a year. But let's be honest, no one in this class has the arm talent that Mahomes has. Mahomes might have the strongest arm in the NFL, and he can sling it from any angle off his back foot, put it there. Yes, he's got his rough patches. We saw that this past season when things aren't quite right. Neither is he, but he's got everything you look for. Otherwise, I wouldn't say any of these guys like Malik Willis is probably the one physically who one can say could be that close in terms of that type of prospect.
But I don't think he is.
Well, no, I don't.
I mean, when I originally watched the film and graded him like a week or two ago, I had him at number 2. When I watch it now, I wouldn't even put him in. I wouldn't even draft him in any round.
He's rough, man.
The thing is this: when I watch highlight film of him, he looks great. But when you sit down and watch him play a complete game, he's not very good. I mean, the offense at Liberty was extremely simplistic. There's no NFL reads required. No NFL caliber throws are required. And, of course, that's not his fault. But his coaching staff did what it was thought was best to win and capitalize on his skill set, which is what happens to a lot of these guys that are freak athletes. His overall accuracy, ball placement, decision-making was terrible. It would be lucky if he made the bottom of the top 10 here. Whoever drafts him, and I hope the Pittsburgh Steelers do, will regret it for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, his mechanics are a little ugly. His decision making is ugly. So those he'll definitely need to work on that. But I mean, there's things you can't teach. His ability to create, throw on the run, he can sling it. He's got the tools that you can work with.
Wait a second. A tool you can work with is not necessarily a huge arm. A huge arm, a lot of times, is a bad thing. And I know people think that's crazy, but if you have a huge arm, a lot of times, you don't ever develop anything else. It's like in Liberty, it was like you're throwing to this guy or you run. You don't teach him to be a quarterback. And it's really hard to all of a sudden teach progression and reading a defense at an NFL level when it wasn't even done at a college level. So I think the people that love Malik Willis are just guys that love the combine, dude. He can run really fast. He can throw it really far. And I wrote an article today that'll be out tomorrow on the top 10 draft busts of all time. Akili Smith, Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell, all the top 3. All 3 played in simplistic systems exactly like this. They went to teams that were desperate for a quarterback and overdrafted them. Hell, the Bengals turned down the Saints' entire draft when it was offered to them to get to Akili Smith's spot. And, of course, the Saints were looking for Ricky Williams. They weren't looking for Akili Smith. So all these guys with the big arms and they can throw off their back foot, that shit gets you beat. You throw off your back foot if you have to, which Patrick Mahomes does. We've seen Patrick Mahomes in the last year, even when he doesn't have to, start to do it. Because you start to get secure in your abilities that you can just manhandle everybody. There's no quarterback here that I've seen. I know, Steve, you've looked at the quarterbacks a little bit. Have you seen anybody that, you think could start in the NFL soon?
No, I was looking for that. I was trying to find that. Is there anybody in this year's class that we would dub a franchise quarterback?
No.
And I could not find one, period, that you would say, I want to, even if I've got a high draft pick, I would probably be rather than taking a chance on one of these because, as you said, Dan and Mike, both of you, next year's quarterback draft is going to be much better. Might be trying to trade my pick this year for a good first-round pick next year. But
the problem with that, it's hard to do that because, hell, you might trade with the Lions and then all of a sudden they win 7 games and you're picking 12th again next year.
That's not going to happen, but I get your point.
Can.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens all the time in the NFL where teams come out of nowhere. Yeah. I'll tell you, the guys that really
Mike, are you talking like the Bengals?
I mean, the Bengals did it. We see it every year, though. There's teams like that. Every year, there's 1 or 2 teams that make a run in the playoffs that nobody expected. I would say this. If I saw guys here that I thought could develop into being really good quarterbacks, it would be Matt Corral and Sam Howell. Howell and Corral, they rhyme, so that's always good. It's always good when you rhyme. But those 2 guys are it.
Mike, I got a question for you. Based on what we saw in free agency, it seems like a lot of teams in the NFL solidified their quarterbacking situation through free agency. I mean, you saw Russell Wilson move. You saw the Colts pick up my quarterback, Matt Ryan. Other teams, and really, there's only two what I would perceive as starting NFL quarterbacks available left that are free agents, and that would be and the kid in Cleveland. I can't think of his name right now either.
Baker
Mayfield. Really, other than that, is this just a year you just kind of say, don't waste your time and effort on quarterbacks, or go after one of those two guys? And which teams? Which teams right now in the NFL are left that are still looking for a quarterback?
Oh, dude, I think half the teams in the NFL are looking for a quarterback because not everybody's looking for a quarterback. And the problem with that is there's not many teams that have that. You look at the NFC, hell, probably right now, 8 of the top 10 quarterbacks are in the AFC. The NFC, you've got all kinds of teams that could use quarterbacks. You got teams like San Francisco that have Trey Lance. You're not really sure about Trey Lance. I wanted to bring up another guy that I think may go in like the third rounders. To me, he played injured this last year, and that's Carson Strong out of Nevada. Dan, have you watched much film on him?
Yes, actually. I'm glad you brought him up because Carson Strong, I think, is being slept on. He is your prototype at the position. He is big arm, good accuracy, experience, going through his progressions and whatnot. The only main question with him are the injuries. And it is a relevant concern. That is something teams are legitimately concerned about, as they should be. The best ability, as they say, is availability. And especially at the quarterback position, if you're going to take a guy and you're expecting him to be that franchise type, you need him to be there. But Strong's been right the last couple of years. He completed over 67% of his passes this past season. He had 36.
70%, I think, this year, wasn't it? Or was that his junior year?
Yeah, 2020 was 67.3. This year, 67.2. And he had 36 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. The stats are nice. The size is nice. The arm is nice. He offers absolutely nothing in terms of athleticism, movement of any sort. He is a stat.
Neither does Tom Brady.
Neither does Tom Brady. That is true. But he's another one. As much as I like Strong, he's another one who needs to work on some stuff. He's another one who needs to touch up on his mechanics. He needs to work on his release and his touch on throws because he's another one. Besides Willis.
Well, how about this? I would draft any of these guys if it was the second or third round. Because I think all these guys, I think there's 8 guys here that out of the 8, 1 or 2 of them is going to turn out to be a decent NFL quarterback. The issue is if you start picking these guys, 4 or 5 of them in the first round, first round quarterbacks, they want them to play right away, number one, because you're paying them so much money. I think you're setting these guys up for failure. I don't think there is one quarterback in this group that I would even rank on a big board in the top 50 or 100.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on the front of taking one of these guys in a second round. I'd be fine with that. But it's weird because some of the big rumors that we've been hearing leading up to the draft is like the Saints got another first round pick so they can trade up for the quarterback that they like. The Steelers have done tons of work on Pickett and Willis, and they might trade up for a quarterback. And I'm thinking to myself, why? Why would you trade up for any of these quarterbacks? Desperation, yes, but a franchise like the Steelers don't do desperate. All right, they might need a franchise quarterback, but they got Mitch Trubisky. Even if you win 8 games this year, great. All right, you take that.
But they're the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not looking to win 8 games this year.
But even if getting Willis isn't going to make them win 10 games, 12 games this year, picking Kenny Pickett isn't going to make them win 10 to 12 games this year.
But it's desperation, Dan. I mean, what we got is this. With Mitch Trubisky, you know what you get. You're not winning a Super Bowl.
Mm-mm.
With Malik Willis, you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. You've developed a lot of guys and turned them into studs that nobody thought else could. So if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe you overvalue your ability to make a guy something that he's not because you've done it before. The only issue is they've done it mainly with linebacker, or not with linebacker, but mainly with offensive linemen. 4 or 5 years ago, they had one of the best offensive lines in football with a bunch of guys that were low-round picks or free agents. So I think desperation makes you do a lot of things. I think desperation led to the Indianapolis Colts signing Matt Ryan, Steve.
You think so?
Unless you want to go with Sam Erlanger or whatever the hell.
Well, I keep going back to probably for right around the same money. Garoppolo was available too. As far as we know, he wasn't. He may have nixed wanting to come to Indianapolis, certainly. But I don't know that Matt Ryan's a desperation move for the Colts. I think it's a pretty good move. The problem with that move is it's a 2-year move.
Well, the problem with that move is in the next 2 years, you cannot have a team that can win the Super Bowl. But
right.
If you go ahead,
Colts are out of Super Bowl contention. And I think with Garoppolo, they would have been in it.
Well, this is the thing. I don't know that they would be with Garoppolo when you consider you've got 8 of the top 10 quarterbacks in the AFC.
Yeah, exactly.
If Matt Ryan was 5 years younger, it would be a brilliant move. But to me, you're almost better with the quarterbacks that are going to come out next year to run with, slinging Slammy Erlanger or whatever the hell his name is, and losing as many games as you possibly can, getting the first pick, and picking Bryce Young or the kid from Ohio State.
Yeah, do we need to talk about Sam Howell any? I mean, what's the story on him? I know he had a... Oh, did you?
Yeah, that's what I said. If I could pick any 2 guys out of here, draft them in the 2nd or 3rd round and hope to make them a superstar quarterback, I think Matt Corral, Corral and Sam Howell are there. When I did my rankings, Kenny Pickett, like I said, he's the most ready to play right now. But with his skill set, it's never going to get better than mediocre. He's a good leader, but you're going to have to put studs around him all over the place to be able to have any chance to win anything. And I think even in even in free agency this year, we saw teams really follow what the Bengals did, where, you load up on skill position players, you make sure you got a stud quarterback, and you just go try to outscore everybody.
One thing I will say is when you mentioned, Mike, you wouldn't take any of these guys in the first round. I don't have a first round grade on any of these quarterbacks. And I don't think I'm the only one, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these NFL teams, we've heard it this whole cycle. A lot of these teams are probably a lot lower on these guys than the media or anyone else is outside the league.
See, I don't think you're right here, because I think the majority of NFL teams don't have a clue what they're doing or what they're picking. And if they did, and the reason I say that, when I write the article today on the worst draft bust of all time, that article could have been 1,000 pages on number 1 picks. I mean, everybody, if these guys are so brilliant, why do they constantly miss? Why did the Detroit Lions, 3 years in a row, pick a wide receiver number 1? And all 3 of them missed. You don't win football games with wide receivers. You can do it with a stud quarterback and some wide receivers, I guess, but you eventually need linemen. If you look at it, the difference between the Bengals and the Rams was the offensive line. The Rams were above average. The Bengals were terrible. That was the difference in that game. So you could have all the skill position players, but it doesn't really matter. All right, we've got a comment. Ryan Peters, I think him and Risley are best friends in the world, right, Steve?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. I'm going to tell Joe, by the way. But with how bad the Colts division is, getting Matt Ryan gives them a chance at the division. Lots of miles on the D. Henry tires. Colts underperformed in my mind. It could easily be one of those teams that weren't in it. Yeah, but the point is this. You can win the division, but you're not doing anything else. And, I think people really undersell this. Vrabel, I think, is a much better coach than Reich. Tannehill, you could trash him. He threw 3 picks in the playoffs, lost to the Bengals. But Patrick Mahomes threw 2 picks and lost to the Bengals. Nobody bust his ass the way they do Ryan Tannehill. And Ryan Tannehill was good enough that they were the number 1 seed going into the playoffs last year. And when you look at the Colts, you need wide receivers. You need tight ends. You've got a 37-year-old statue at quarterback. You need edge rushers. Where do they pick in the first round? They don't, right?
They don't. Well, there's talk they're trying to trade up now, but I don't know why they would make unless they get a receiver, because the first round's supposed to be rich in receivers, allegedly.
Wait a second. Whoa, hold on. I'm not one
Here
of
we
Steve's.
go.
I'm one of Steve's panelists, not best friends, according to the chat. What's that mean? What'd y'all do on chat that I didn't know about?
Oh, we have a chat going now. And
I probably don't want to know about
the
it.
gang is Steve and his panelists.
Grizzlies, believe it or not, I still think that would be a great show.
I'm formulating that show right now.
All right, Dan, you're in Vegas. What kind of rumors are you hearing?
The rumors are flying, and they're crazy. So
they're almost always lies put out by teams so they can draft who they want.
One of the biggest lies and one of the biggest rumors is Derek Stingley. It revolves around Derek Stingley. We know the story with Stingley. Elite talent, had a phenomenal freshman season in 2019. One of the best seasons by a corner in recent memory. He looked, the feet were right, the athleticism's right, the playmaking, everything you look for was on point in 2019. Then he got hurt, all right? Then this year he got hurt, and when he played, he got torched. And then, he just decided to stop playing, basically quit on the squad and said he was going to focus on getting healthy and training for the draft and all that shit. And, that's great. But he damaged his stock. This was a potential top 3, top 5 pick at one point during the season, going into the season. And then as the season went on, his stock dropped and dropped and dropped, talking to maybe he dropped to the 15s or 20, 15, 20 range. And then now here we are. Since the scouting combine, he had his pro day. He's healthy. He went in at the pro day, ran well, tested well. And now all of a sudden, he was supposed to be shooting up into the top 5 again. And the big rumor leading up to now, the last week or so, was Derek Stingley going 3rd overall to the Texans. And that's one of the rumors I wanted to focus on because it makes absolutely no sense to me. We've seen teams take corners this high before. It doesn't normally work out. And Stingley, as good as he might be, the Houston Texans aren't in a position to take a player like that because they should be adding talent that actually helps them, not only in the future, but helps them win some games more immediately. And Stingley doesn't do that, I think, for them because, number one, Lovie Smith doesn't really value corners like that. And why doesn't Lovie Smith value corners like that? Well, he's their head coach, and they run a cover 2 defense. Everybody knows you don't need elite corners in the cover 2. A lot of these teams that run the cover 2 defense historically don't value corners that highly. It's just you need a good front 4. The front 4, the pass rush without blitzing is what makes the cover 2 run and what makes the cover 2 work. Having an elite corner does nothing if you got no one to rush the passer. So that's one of the rumors that's been flying. Now, apparently, we've gone full circle because at one point the Texans were looking at maybe taking an edge rusher, maybe taking Iggy Ekwonu, and all of a sudden they're looking at Ahmad Gardner, which is fine. Gardner's a fantastic prospect, maybe the best in the class. But they're looking at Gardner, now they're looking at Stingley, and now we've come full circle and they're back at Iggy Ekwonu. Now it's, they're leaning Iggy Ekwonu was the rumor that came out this morning. And, for everything, all chips on the table, I think that's the better move for a franchise like the Texans. But that's the big one that's popped up. A couple other ones, the Steelers potentially trading up, which I'm not buying at all, as I mentioned
How about
earlier.
this? Let's go back to Stingley real quick with the Texans. I think he's more likely because Lovie Smith's there. Because from what I watched on the film of Stingley, is he is much better in zone coverage than he is man coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't find the ball well, and he's lackadaisical. Actually, I would stay completely away from this kid, but I hope I'm wrong, because Darryl Stingley was his grandfather, and you know the story of Darryl Stingley, right, Dan?
Yeah, but just for our viewers, why don't you let them know?
So you don't, really?
That means he doesn't.
Oh, my God. Darryl Stingley, I remember coming home and watching this. It was on ABC or CBS. It was a Saturday night game, NFL preseason game. Stingley goes up to catch a ball. He comes down, and Jack Tatum? Yeah, Jack Tatum comes. and hits him in the head, ended up paralyzing him. He passed away about 10 or 15 years later, was stuck in a wheelchair with a halo on his head for a couple of years. But it was sad. And Darryl Stingley was a great wide receiver. He was close to getting to where he was elite. And that Patriots team back 76, 77, 78 was absolutely loaded. You know, they had Steve Grogan at quarterback.
Yeah, Grogan was QB.
Yeah, in 76, they beat the Raiders in a playoff game that was stolen from them because they called a roughing the passer on Sugar Bear Hamilton, who barely touched Kenny Stabler. The interesting thing about that Patriots team, they were 13-1, or the Raiders were 13-1 that year, won the Super Bowl. Their only loss was 48-17 to New England during the season also. But Stingley is one of the great tragic stories. I probably ought to write an article on it now since I find out people under 40 are stupid and don't know things, Steve.
I remember watching it too. Actually, in that time period, it was a clean hit.
It was not a clean hit.
Well, by the standards of the way the game was played then, it was a punishing hit.
Let's find the hit and we'll show it.
Yeah, it was a high hit. But you're going to show it to people that are only judging it by the rules of today's football.
I mean, there was a flag thrown on it. There was a flag thrown on it.
Yeah, because he hit him high. But there was no lowering of the helmet rules or anything like that back then.
It was
or hitting
still
crown
bad.
to crown.
Oh, hell, hold on. I got to find it. Let's see.
While we're talking about that, Mike, did you see Darryl LaMonica just passed away?
Yeah, he passed away end of last week, wasn't it? Or started this week?
Bad. Another Raiders great quarterback.
Okay, I think I found it. Hold on here. The film is not great.
No, but it's
I can't even tell what happened.
What year was it? In the 70s, wasn't it?
I think it was 1977 or 78.
Yeah, so there's no HD then or anything like that.
Yeah, but this is really...
Which is what I wish I was broadcasting in, no HD for my ugly face.
Yeah, I wish
I'm not a pretty boy like Dan.
Whenever you and Joe are on the same
Vegas
show. Yeah, this is head that. Yeah, that was bad. Hold on, we could show it. The instant replay slows it down enough you can at least see what happened.
He caught him high, right? Helmet to helmet in the head.
Yeah, he dropped his head into his head.
He did. But there was no rule against that then.
Okay, Steve. There was a penalty flag thrown.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay.
I think the rule was him going over the middle and you can't target.
No, Stevie hit him like 3 seconds after the ball was gone. So it was pretty bad. Can you all see it?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. It's frozen because it was on pause.
All right.
See, the issue here is the ball is there, and Tatum's 5 yards from him, sticks his head down, and just hits him right on top of the head.
Career ending.
Yeah, basically it ended his life. It just took about 10 or 15 years after, but...
Yeah.
So that's why I hope Stingley has a great career. So I'll say I would stay away from him, and I would, but I hope the kid proves me completely and utterly wrong, like Dan and Steve never have. Also, by the way, right now I'm starting to whip Joe's ass on the USFL show, too. So after the first week, he had a little lead, and he got a little cocky. Lead went away. All right, what other rumors you hearing? What about the Pittsburgh Steelers?
So, yeah, other than that, it sounds like things are shaping up, which... Honestly, if this is the case, all of it's probably going to be wrong. But what it's sounding like, it sounds like the class is rounding up positionally as teams that are focused in on who the top guys are, and then there's everybody else. So, for example, at corner, it's Stingley, it's Ahmad Gardner, and then it's everybody else. There's a drop-off, and then it's like guys like Trent McDuffie and Elam and so on and so forth. Good prospects.
See, I like Elam, but the best corner in this draft by far is Sauce Gardner, especially if you're going to play man press coverage.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Everything about Gardner shouts shutdown corner in the NFL. The technique is right. The feet are right. He's physical, but not stupid physical. He doesn't get too many dumb downfield holding calls or pass interference calls.
Well, I think in 1,000 plays as a Cincinnati Bearcat, he gave up 0 touchdowns.
That's the other thing. He's a lockdown.
I think it was 0 pass plays over 20 yards even, wasn't it?
Yo, he locked it down, man. No touchdowns. I got to see what the stats are, but I think he had something like a 30% completion percentage when targeted in coverage, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, and I mean, against Alabama, the UC defense wasn't the issue. It was the UC offense. I mean, the Cincinnati defense, I don't remember any of those great receivers, blowing sauce up, if you know what I mean.
Nah, not at all. As good as, and we know what kind of talent that team has. Talent and speed is never a question there. And they did nothing. He legit locked down whoever he covered. And he gave up 0.29 yards per snap.
Per catch,
yeah.
That's not bad.
0.29 yards given up.
So if you go for it and you run 4 plays at Sauce Gardner, you'll gain a yard.
Right. It's crazy. Okay. It's crazy.
So to me, if the Detroit Lions and Jacksonville Jaguars don't draft him, they're stupid. He should be the number 1 player off the board here.
See, that's the thing. That's something I've been struggling with. In a class like this, where there is no clear-cut top quarterback, edge rusher, etc., left tackle, whatever. It's tough because you got to try to find those guys who can be.
I think this, but the thing is this: in almost any draft, Sauce Gardner would be the number 1 corner.
Maybe, but would he even be a top 10 pick in next year's class?
I don't know why he wouldn't. I mean, the problem is this: people undervalue corner. How many elite shutdown corners are there in the NFL right now? Are there any?
None. There's no Darrell Revis. There's no Deion Sanders. There's no Darrell Green. There's none of those guys right now. And we talked about this earlier, Mike, you and I. As good as Jalen Ramsey is perceived to be by people around the league and people who follow football, as good as he's perceived to be, he gets torched. He gets burned. He bites hard on those double moves, like you said.
Yeah. So he got abused in the Super Bowl. He got lucky that the Bengals didn't have an offensive line, or he was giving up the game-winning touchdown pass when he got a double move and fell on his face against, was it Chase there?
Chase, yep. Chase, yeah. There's games like it's like that like every game, I feel, but for what it's worth, he's considered to be the best of the best, and he's not that guy. He's not a Revis type.
You watch. You're a New York dude. You kiss Darrell Revis's ass all the time. Darrell Revis was really good.
He was Revis Island, baby.
Yeah, Revis Island.
Shut him down.
That island never got you to the Super Bowl.
I'll tell you what, like thinking about it, thinking about Ramsey to even a guy like Revis, I remember at Revis's peak, them showing like a list of wide receivers that he shut down, and he was shutting down future Hall of Famers like Andre Johnson and so on and so forth, and he was just locking them down, getting 3 catches for 30 yards and 1 catch for 15 yards or 4 catches for 20. And he was doing work. And you look at Ramsey, it's like he's not that. And I mean, even in recent memory, you see a team like the Detroit Lions. They took Jeff Okudah, and in that class, that was a good class, and a lot of people liked Okudah. And here we are a few years later, and he is dangerously close, if not swimming in the kiddie section of being a bust. And I mean, sure, that's a risk with any player you take at any point in any draft. But when you take a corner that high, corners get paid in the NFL. Corner is a very valued position in the NFL. You can tell because they get the most money besides edge rushers, tackles, and quarterbacks. So teams need those shutdown corners. So I get why Gardner, Stingley, Okudah, etc. These guys would be ranked that high and go that high.
I don't get why Stingley and Okudah are. I already told you those guys are really good. Sauce Gardner can play.
But I can't get on board for taking a corner in the top 3 unless you tell me Gardner's going to be a Hall of Famer. I can't do it.
Actually, you should not pick anybody in the top 3 that you don't think is going to be a Hall of Famer, Dan.
I mean, you're not
wrong. The first
but,
pick in the draft is supposed to help you win a Super Bowl and end up in the Hall of Fame.
You're not wrong, but here we are, and this class doesn't appear to have any Hall of Famers. But besides corner, so it looks like corner's shaping up in a tiered system of who's going where. Same thing with edge rusher. It's Aiden Hutchinson, Trevon Walker, Thibodeau, and Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State. Those are the top four.
Hey, so you know, I think Thibodeau sucks, but I don't like him. I mean, if you watch him play against Utah when they got beat twice, that dude wasn't even trying halfway through the second quarter. I don't get Thibodeau. I think Hutchinson's a solid player. He's not worth a top 3 pick.
Nah. If that's what I'm saying, like if there was,
put it like this, he's not Myles Garrett. He's not a Bosa.
He's not a Bosa. He's not Garrett. You're absolutely right. And I think that's the reason. That's one of the biggest reasons that Jacksonville's looking at a Trevon Walker going for number 1 overall, because he has those physical traits that you look for. He's got the length. He's got the strength. He's got the crazy athleticism. He's got the bend off the edge. He's got what you look for physically in those upper tier prospects. But damn it, is he raw. He has no pass rush moves. He has no counter moves. He did most of his work pass rushing wise. Most of his damage came from the inside, which if you're 270, 275 in the NFL, unless you're, Cameron Jordan out there, you're not really expecting your edge rusher to move inside and be better on the inside. That's ugly. But he's going to need to be coached up a lot. But that's part of the reason why I think Jacksonville likes him so much, is because the rumor
he's
with
terrible.
That is, listen,
I don't get it.
Sold on Walker. I'm not sold on Walker at all. Not at all. He's got the highlights and he flashes on film, but he played in only like 53 or something like that % of the snaps. So he did most of his work pass rushing wise as an inside rusher. And there's a lot that I don't like about it. At the beginning of the season, this guy wasn't even being talked about as a top 1, first or second round pick. He was a nobody. The season went on. He moved up a little bit, whatever. We get to the end of the season, and then all of a sudden, he's a surefire first-round pick.
All right, it's because when you put him in shorts and a T-shirt, he's 6'5", 272. He's got 35-inch arms. He's got 10-inch plus hands. He ran a 4.6 40 and a 41-inch vertical. So, yeah, he's freak when you go do that stuff. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about doing more than that. We're talking about actually playing football, not being in the decathlon.
Exactly. And I think that's part of the reason, Mike, you asked earlier, like, these GMs suck. Why do they have these guys who bust so often that they take high in the first round? And honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with hubris. It's these professional coaches coaching at the highest level of their profession in the world, coaching the best of the best. Okay. And they think, I can take this guy. He is a giant mound of clay, and I can mold this clay into the statue of David and turn him into an elite player at the next level. We will coach him up. We have the staff to do it. We have the scheme that he fits in. Blah blah blah. All that is honestly, it's hubris. And if you're really looking at it objectively, and you're not one of these teams that are desperate for an edge rusher, and you fall in love with the workouts in shorts, if you look at it objectively, you're not taking this guy in the top 10. I wouldn't even take him in the top 15. I'd take him maybe back into this first round, because that's when you take those swings on those elite upper echelon athletes that are just crazy, athletically and tested through the roof, but they need some work. I'd be okay taking him to back into the first round. I wouldn't be comfortable taking him not only top 10, but number 1 overall. But
real quick, though, I want to ask Steve one thing. Steve, you are looking up hubris for us right now, right?
No.
You should. You know what it means?
Hubris? In the context he was using it, I would think it means somewhere in the lines of bullshit.
Everything Dan says is bullshit. You're just guessing. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, Steve, hubris is basically excessive self-confidence.
Bullshit.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, I got it.
But
I can even, pick how you deliver information. That's the thing I was trained well by Bob Knight, is don't listen to how he's delivering information. Listen to the information he's delivering. So with you, I'm trying to just listen on the information you're delivering, which is good. How you deliver it, is hubris.
Yes. Yes, Steve. I love it. But yeah, so it looks like the top 4 edge rushers are pretty much locked in.
Yeah. Does this become a draft then, the way you're talking? A draft that just both teams are going to take the best player available, or they're position drafting?
I think this. I think any team that's run correctly takes the best player available in most cases, Dan.
So the draft is like this. So this year, in other years, you've got, 83, it was take a quarterback.
Dude, I will almost guarantee you at least 3 quarterbacks go in the first round tonight because somebody is going to do something stupid and trade up or draft Malik Willis high, and then all the other guys are going to freak out thinking they can't get the guy they want in the second round, and then they're going to start picking him.
Yo, that's why I mocked in my final mock draft that was posted this morning on the Grueling Truth. I put Desmond Ridder 32nd because I don't think Desmond Ridder is a first-round quarterback. I don't even have him as one of my top 5 quarterbacks in this draft class. I don't like Desmond Ridder at all.
Well, you're an idiot.
But
he's
somebody in the NFL does, and teams.
Hey, he's better than Malik Willis.
It's still ugly. Either way you cut it, he's still not a first-round quarterback. I don't see a potential franchise guy. I get the leadership. I get the arm talent. I get the mobility. I get that he led Cincinnati of all schools to the top of the food chain pretty much, and played with the elites of the elites and blah, blah, blah. I get all that. I get that quarterback is overvalued and these guys rise for, because they play quarterback. But I just put him there because I think someone's going to trade up and take him at that spot. I don't think the Detroit Lions inevitably stay at 32. And if they do stay at 32, I don't see them taking a quarterback. I see them taking the best player available, whoever that is, at that point for them. But that's why I put Desmond Ridder there, because I think there's going to be at least 3 quarterbacks taken. It's just other than Kenny Pickett and Willis, it's Desmond Ridder. In Matt Corral is the other possibility. I know the Seahawks have been rumored to be really into Corral. I know the Atlanta Falcons are rumored to be into him as well. But it's ugly.
Well, I can tell you this. When people talk about Stingley, I would go get Roger McCreary from Auburn before I would Stingley.
I love McCreary. I'm such a fan of McCreary.
I think there are some guys. I think another one is Tyreek Woolen from UTSA. I think he's better than Stingley. A safety that I think people overlook is Brian Cook from Cincinnati. He's a stud. I'll tell you, I like Isaiah Likely, the tight end from Coastal Carolina. Okay. I think he could be one of the best players in this draft. I think he's explosive. He reminds me a little bit of Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, guys like that. Not saying he's going to be that good, but I think he's a guy within 2 years will be a top 10 tight end. Veron McKinley, the safety out of Oregon.
Yep.
I like him. I could just go through and give you all the guys I like because there's only like 15 of them tops. I think this is a great draft if you need a linebacker and you want to get him late in the first to the middle of the second. I think you got Chad Muma from Wyoming.
I like him. Chad Muma, yep.
He's a stud. You got 2 of them from Georgia. You got Quay Walker. You got Channing Tyndale, who's a guy that I think people miss on big time. I think his side-to-side range and his athleticism are extremely impressive. And, I mean, this was a defense that had a ridiculous amount of talent. I think this is the guy that gets slept on the most that could really do some damage. And another one, who's the defensive end from Kentucky?
Josh Pascal?
Yeah. I mean, I think he could be one of the top 2 edge rushers in this league. I think he could be better than Aiden Hutchinson as an every down defensive end before everything's done.
Pascal is right. I know Sam Teets is a huge fan of Pascal. He's been talking.
Well, never mind, man. I don't like him.
Process.
I'm kidding. Another D end I like is Cameron Thomas from San Diego State.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think everybody, and if you notice, I'm naming colleges for the most part outside of Georgia that are not like big time considered top programs. But another one's Matthew Butler, who's a defensive tackle from Tennessee.
Yep.
Which it's a big name, but I mean, great. Luke Fortner from Kentucky, who's a center. Dylan Parham, the offensive guard from Memphis.
Yep.
I think there's a bunch of wide receivers like that. But when I look at this, Max Mitchell, offensive tackle from Louisville, or not Louisville, Louisiana, I think it is. He allowed 3 sacks and 13 pressures on 430 pass attempts. He shut down Texas's left tackle or our defensive end when he played him last year. But what I'm saying is this. I'm saying, and I had this discussion when I coached arena football like 400 years ago now. But I was at a pro day looking for a quarterback after my quarterback got hurt. Mm-hmm. And I start talking to these scouts. One of the scouts from the Raiders, he was a short, little, fat, squat dude. Didn't look like he knew shit. And he didn't. And it's kind of like you, Dan. And then, I had this other guy who was a chief scout. And they're both sitting there. And I sit down, and we're getting something to eat. And we start talking. And I'm like, that kid actually, the kid was a quarterback from Wittenberg, Steve. And I remember asking him, I said, that kid looks pretty good. He looks better than Brendan Kay, who at the time was the Cincinnati Bearcats quarterback. And the guy looked at me and said, I agree. He said, but that kid will never get signed by an NFL team. He said he may get to go to rookie camp. He said, but he's not going to get signed. I said, why? He said, because if I go out there and tell them that this kid from Wittenberg is better than the kid from Cincinnati that threw for 3,000 yards, and I'm wrong, they'll fire my ass. But if I take the kid from Cincinnati, who I don't think is as good, they won't hold it against me because he came from a big school. It was the same thing. He said, if I've got Mount Union's got a great D3 program. They have 9 or 10 guys that went to the NFL, including Pierre Garçon, the old Colt, who was a great receiver, Steve. Yep. And he said, the reason you don't see those guys drafted that high is because if I'm a scout and I tell them that the backup at USC is who I would go for, they'll understand because I took the guy that was going to USC. He said, but if I go on here and I pick this guy from Middle Tennessee State and I'm wrong, they'll fire my ass over that because it's considered a stupid pick. So that's why I really don't have a whole lot of respect for scouting departments. And I had this conversation with a bunch of dudes over the 5 or 6 years that I coached there when I talked to them, and they tell me, it's just not worth the risk for us. We're not going to put our ass on the line for a guy from Coastal Carolina. We might just take the safe guy from Notre Dame.
Unfortunately, you're 100% right, man. That's one of the biggest issues when it comes to stuff like this.
Mike, I can actually attest to that to my own personal. I was drafted by Phoenix in 1981 after playing at IU, and I was a 6th round pick, which that's when they carried the draft out 8-9 rounds. And we came down to the last day of rookie camp, and the guy Colangelo called me in and said, "We're going to let you go, but we're going to set you up to play in Europe." And I said, well, man, look, number 1 pick was Larry Nance. 2 was Sam Clancy. And number 3 was this guy named Craig Dykstra. And everybody said I clearly outperformed Dykstra in camp all day long. And, for the whole week of rookie camp. And Colangelo called in and said, look, yeah, I agree with everybody. You outperformed Dykstra. The thing is Dykstra was a 3rd round pick and you're a 6th round pick. If I cut my 3rd round pick to keep a 6th round pick, unless you're just a superstar in the making, which you're not, you're going to be in the lower end of the bench anyway. I'd look like a fool to all the people that I'm drafting.
Yeah, but you know what? Craig Dykstra ended up playing for the Mets in that '86 World Series.
Baseball? He switched to baseball?
It's a joke. Neither one of you ever heard of Lenny Dykstra?
No, this is Craig Dykstra.
I know. That's why it was a joke.
Oh, that was just.
But yeah, that is the perfect example. We see it when a guy.
Said, the reason we're letting you go is because you're a 6th round pick and he's a 3rd round pick, and I'll look bad if my 6th round pick outperforms my 3rd round pick.
Yeah, but if you would have made the team and been great, he'd have been good to go. But he didn't want to take the risk because it's not worth the risk. You lose your job.
Right.
And you got to go to Europe.
Yep.
That's now, Grizzlies, believe it or not. Do you believe it or not, Dan?
That he went to Europe?
No, that all that just happened.
I believe it. 100%.
You're right. So you can believe it. Now, if he starts telling you stories about the infield at the Indy 500, those are questionable.
No. Those are the true stories.
All right.
That crap's so weird you can't make it up.
A couple of more, just to get back on track. A couple more rumors that I think are very interesting is apparently there's teams that are desperate to trade up. The Chiefs, the Eagles, the Packers, the Cowboys, and a surprise team, the Houston Texans, are looking to move up from 13. They got the 13th pick from the Cleveland Browns. And these other teams, the Chiefs trading up, the rumor is for either a corner, one of the top corners, or one of these top receivers. Apparently, they love Jamison Williams. They see him as another speed demon, which they're not wrong.
Dude, if I was them, I would go with a corner.
I mean, if I'm them, I'd stay with those 2 picks at the end of the first round and see how the board falls. I'm not trading up unless you're trading up.
Well, I think they can get a guy like Elam, who I think could be a really good corner at the end of the first round. Now, and if you want to trade all the way up to get Gardner, you probably got to trade up to the top 5 or 6, which is going to cost you a hell of a lot more. But with the Chiefs right now, the difference between the Chiefs and, say, the Bengals and the Bills, the Bengals and Bills defenses are better than the Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely. The Chiefs have needs all over that defense. They need an edge rusher. They need a safety. They need a corner. They could stand to add another interior rusher because I don't like Derek Nandy. He's a good run stopper, but they need more help up front. I mean, they could add a bunch of guys on the defense and not even address the offense, and no one would really bat an eye because their defense needs that much help.
Well, they have to. I mean, they have to. I mean, in the division they're in right now, you've got basically everybody that's the quarterback in there is really damn good. But the other thing is this, Denver, just in that the Denver defense, the Raiders defense, and the Chargers defense are all better than what the Chiefs have right now.
I agree 100%. And they know that. They know that. They're not stupid.
And those teams are getting good enough that you can't just outscore them with Patrick Mahomes, especially when you take Tyreek Hill away from Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and you got Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Scant and Valdez or whatever the hell his name is, and
those are 2 horrible picks.
And Nicole Hardman, bunch of not quite rights. You got it's ugly. But anyway,
yeah. If the Chiefs don't do something fairly dramatic, I don't think they make the playoffs.
I don't know what they could possibly do that's so dramatic.
Because right now, I would make this statement. I always bust on the Colts because of Steve, and now Ryan's a Colts fan, I find out. So, but I would tell you this. I think the Colts right now have a better chance to make the playoffs than the Chiefs do.
That's fair because that division is trash. That's totally fair. That's absolutely fair.
Well, I don't think the Titans are trash. I think the Jaguars and the Texans are trash. But I think the Titans are a good football team.
Titans can be had. Titans can be had in that division.
Everybody can be had, though.
Nah, but the Titans are one of those teams that they were the number 1 seed last year, but they're a team that you look at them, they lose to the Jaguars, you wouldn't bat an eye. They lose to the Texans. You know, it's hashtag Titans problems. They're such a Jekyll and Hyde team. I love Vrabel as a coach. One of my buddies, one of my good friends, Greg, he's a diehard Titans fan. I got to hear it every single week. Oh, the refs got it out for us. Our secondary can't stop committing penalties. Tannehill sucks. No one's getting open, and AJ Brown's getting double covered. The offensive line, blah, blah, blah. Complaint after complaint after complaint. And this is the team that was the 1 seed. They could, more than the Bengals, or any of these other elite AFC teams, the Bills, etc. Those teams, for the most part, take care of business against bad teams. Good teams beat bad teams. The Titans are the Titans record-wise were a good team, but they are so heckle and jive.
You do realize the Bengals lost to the Bears, the Jets, and the Browns twice last year.
Yeah, that whole adage of any given Sunday, but that's different. That's when the Bengals were up and coming. The Titans had already won the division previously. They were already rolling during the season. I mean, hell, they finished as the 1 seed. You know what I'm saying? and it's not like the Titans came out of nowhere. The Bengals, by comparison, going to the Super Bowl, kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, even during the season, early season, even you The Mr. Bengals fan.
Actually, if you go back to week 5 is when I first said the Bengals had the makings of a possible Super Bowl run.
Yes, but when
That's week 5. That's early in the season.
I'm talking about the first month, when we made a prediction.
Okay, so it'd have been the week after the first month. All right, Dan. You're right, Risley. He's an asshole.
It counts. It counts. Doesn't matter. Had sex. It counts.
And also, I was the one that told you every time the Bengals played the Chiefs, the Bengals just were the more talented team. And you called me gross and disgusting. Do you remember that, Steve?
I stick by those remarks. I stick by them right now.
How would you stick by it? The Chiefs got their ass beat twice, and you just now said you could see them not making the playoffs this year.
Well, a lot can change in a few months, but I stick by it from what I said back then. Back then,
you might as well stick by it. What the hell? You were wrong. You might as well just stay with it.
I'm going to die on that hill. I'm going to die on that hill alone.
Just like when the Broncos were going to be the surprise playoff team last year, Steve. You remember that? They were the year before, too, he said that.
I love the Broncos. I was just a year early.
It was 2 years ago you said it for the first time, but all right.
No, last year was this past season was our first season.
Well, I just can't deal with the Broncos until they go back to the helmet with the D and the horse on the side, because the other was stupid.
All his crap is coming from a man who didn't know who Alex Karras was. Dick Night Train Lane.
I know Dick.
Lane. I know Dick. I know you know Dick. Joe Spillman told me that. Yeah.
Yo, Dick Lane is my favorite.
Okay.
All right. I think it's time to wrap this up. We're at about an hour. Dan loves Dick. Dan loves Dick. That's the name of the show. There you go. You know what? Hey, Joe's going to end up making this a TikTok video where you say you love Dick, too. So.
I can't wait.
If he doesn't, Joe's fired. So. I might send Joe to the Super Bowl since he won't get in any trouble.
I won't get in trouble.
I know that's a lie. You just said it like my sons do. I won't get in trouble. All right. So tell everybody your plans for the next couple days since you're hanging out in Vegas.
All right. So I'm going to be in the draft. I'm going to be in media room 1.
Nobody's drafting you. Go ahead.
I'm going to be going. I'm going to be on the Grueling Truth, pick by pick. Every pick that's made, I'm going to update the Grueling Truth page. It is a 2022 NFL draft page. You'll be able to find it once you get on there. I'm going to update each pick by pick, with my my own personal analysis on how the player fits, my thoughts otherwise. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be at the draft all 3 days, baby. Going deep, doing it all. I'm a fiend. So I hope you guys stay tuned for that. I'm hopefully going to be talking to some players, get some interviews, take some pictures, all the good stuff. I'm going to try to get anywhere that I can get with these credentials. And I'm looking forward to having some stories for you guys next time we do the show.
If you get arrested, don't call me. I'm not bailing you out.
Mike Goodpaster, I never heard of him in my life.
All right.
Dan, I'm close enough. I'll come and get you.
No, you won't.
Thank you, Steve.
No problem.
I'm
4 to 5 hours away with my big engine on my truck. I'm maybe just 4 hours away.
All right, so tomorrow, you guys want to go at like 2 o'clock, 11 you guys' time, and we'll recap the first round. It'll be much easier to do.
Yeah, why not?
You down? All right. Hey, so you go out there and see if you get you some dick, Dan. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead.
Hey, Dan, you do need to go see Donnie and Marie.
Donnie and Marie?
Liberace's still alive? You ever hear of Donnie and Marie?
You never heard of Donnie and Marie?
Oh, hell. Should we show him Donnie and Marie? They're brother and sisters.
A little bit country, a little bit rock and roll. Pull that up, Mike.
Oh, I will. That. Okay. I'm a little bit country. Yeah, I know that.
Oh, they also sang Don't Go Breaking My Heart, Steve. Did you know that?
Oh, that was Elton John.
Was that Elton John?
I know, but they sang it on their show.
Oh, well, they covered it.
All right, tell me if you can hear this, because sometimes the sound doesn't work right, but... Can you hear it?
And now it's up to us, babe.
We've actually seen
I
this.
think we can make it.
Names are never as good as this.
That was entertainment in the 70s, guys.
My wife and I saw them. We saw that show.
Hey, there's no. I guarantee you there's no show on ESPN or Fox that are showing Donnie and Marie singing "Don't Go Breaking My Heart."
There you go.
Hopefully they won't bust us for a copyright. It was only on for like 8 seconds, so we
Hey,
should be good.
Dan, just remember what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Except herpes. That stuff comes back with
That
it.
shit comes back with you.
I'm never going to Vegas then. That sounds itchy and painful. Remember, guys, you can check out your top sportsbook comparison site, betting.net. Betting.net offers extensive reviews on the best sportsbooks out there. Make sure you check them out tomorrow. You can go to the Grueling Truth, and Dan will probably have an article already written grading the picks, right?
Damn right.
And we will be back live at 2 o'clock tomorrow. And me and Steve Risley, I think, at some point after that, should probably do an NBA show. Because for some reason, that Shooting the J show disappeared.
Yeah, life happened, I guess.
Did you say shitting the J?
Shoot the J! Shoot
So,
it!
did you and Bobby break up?
Who?
Bobby
No,
Hunt? You didn't?
no. Just different
him-
things.
is he
Bob
buddies with
moving
Bobby now?
and stuff
No,
like that.
Bobby Hunt. Remember? Bobby Hunt's his
really?
Bobby. Okay. It wasn't because of what you told us you liked earlier, was it?
I got a text
Yeah.
from Bobby Sheridan the other day.
Did you? What do you have to say?
He wanted to know if you were dead yet.
No. I'm not. And chances are, he'll be dead before me. But, hey, Bobby don't talk to you no more anyways, probably.
He texted me. He
Did he?
had sent me a Bobby Knight picture.
That's awesome. You never seen Bobby Knight before. That was nice
No,
of him.
Never. Very nice.
Hey, and Bobby Sheridan, if you're here, look at that. Look at that. Can anybody see this? Can you see it? Anybody see it? There you go.
Nice.
There you
Nice.
go. I love Bobby. Bobby's all right.
See, it was such a good show, and now we're wrapping up this way. It's too bad.
Well, because I said Bobby Hunt, and whenever I say Bobby,
Well, I tell you,
get
Dan,
turned
you
on.
cannot go an hour without dogging somebody.
That's why we can't have nice things.
Well,
Yeah,
see,
just,
Dan, Steve didn't mind it when I was just dogging you. You never heard him defend you. He just agreed with me the whole time.
I said I would come and get you if you get into trouble in Vegas.
He did.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, I can't
just
come
call
get
me.
you because I'm like 20 hours away.
You would if you wanted to.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
Hmm.
Not after what you've told me today.
Hmm.
I can't believe I put you in Vegas. This is going to cost us probably in the end.
Only good things.
You're not going to the casino, are you?
Not yet.
Don't go to the casino. If you
I can
do,
tell you where,
let's have you on live.
where all the good strip bars are.
Ooh.
The
Guess
Spirit
I'm
of
gonna have to reach
Rhino.
out to Steve after the show.
There are no good strip bars, Dan.
Oh, God. Are you kidding me? This
No.
is Vegas, baby.
God.
Gee, these are girls you look at and go, why are you doing this? Married to a billionaire somewhere.
Do I really want to go watch
Suntanning
naked
on a
women
yacht.
where I mean, why do you want to go pay a woman to get naked?
I don't know. That's a damn good question because you wake up the next morning with nothing except an empty wallet. That's all you do.
That's what I'm trying to explain to you. I've never been to a strip club. I've never seen the movie Godfather either. Those two things nobody ever believes, but I haven't. I've never been to a strip club. I've never seen Godfather.
There's actually a new show starting tonight on Peacock.
What is it?
Called The Offer. It's actually about the making of the film The Godfather and all the trouble they had to go through.
But I'd have to watch the movie to understand.
Hang on,
that.
let me finish. No, it was all
Yell
about
at me.
the show is all about Coppola and his crew and the producers going to the actual mafia and getting their permission to make the movie without fear of retribution. Because the mafia
shit.
at that point was real quiet and did not like to have a lot of publicity, and they were questioning whether they even wanted the movie made. So Coppola's team of producers and everybody went to the actual heads of the mafia and got their permission to make
was
The
nice of 'em.
Godfather. Turned out
Might
to be
be
the
a
greatest
watch.
movie franchise of all time.
No way.
Yeah,
That might be a
yeah,
watch.
it was.
No freaking way.
Yeah, it is.
No, Rocky.
No, Rocky
Yeah,
may be
Rocky.
more profitable, but the best movie franchise in terms
No.
of quality movies
No,
was
Rocky.
The Godfather.
It was Rocky.
No,
It was
Rocky
Rocky.
was great. I love Rocky.
It's a hell of a lot better than Godfather. I don't even know why
No.
we're having this argument because I've never seen The Godfather. But even if I do, I'm not going to think it's better than Rocky.
You got to see it.
Quit picking your
Oh.
nose, Steve. We're on the radio.
I'm not.
TV.
I'm not.
Yeah, you did. You just picked your nose. Did you see him, Dan?
I didn't see
Did not
anything.
touch my nose.
Really, Dan? You're going to be that way. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Tomorrow, we'll be back recapping the first round of the NFL draft. Make sure you follow Dan on the Grueling Truth all night. My wife keeps texting me, asking me if I'm done yet, because dinner's done. It's ready. So I have to go.
Who the hell eats dinner at 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
I always do. I don't eat later than 4, because then you get fat. Like
you go to MCL and get the sundowner dinner?
What the hell is MCL?
You know, Taxi comes on around this time.
One of those buffets you take a train and slide down.
I love Taxi with Andy Kaufman as Lutka.
And put your dentures.
Tony Danza.
Oh hell! Look, he got to act like only old people watch Taxi.
Sit on your plastic covered couch.
Oh God, Taxi's revolutionary.
That was good.
Christopher Lloyd. Did you ever see Back to the Future?
Yeah.
Doc Brown, Christopher Lloyd.
Brown you need to watch it. My favorite Taxi episode was where Jim Ignatowski, which was Andy Kaufman, went to get his driver's license, and he was asking him a question, and they said, slow down. And he started asking it slower. But the answer to the question was slow down. What's yellow mean? You don't remember that one? Steve?
No. Can't say that
I don't remember that specifically.
Oh, come on, Steve. It's like Seinfeld in season 7, the episode where they all agree to not masturbate. And then they all cave in within 3 days. Look at Dan's laughing. Dan can't even comprehend that.
I do remember that. They all talked about sitting in the diner.
Yeah, and Elaine, I think, was the first one out. She just walked in and said, I'm out.
And the winner was Cosmo Kramer.
Yeah. He lied probably, though.
He lied, yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Make sure you check us out all night, the Grueling Truth website. And we'll also... We'll share that page. Let me know when it's up and running. We'll share it on the Facebook page. Make sure you check us out there. Check out TikTok because little Dan's going to make all kind of cute little videos all night.
I've never made a TikTok. I'm so excited to do it. Pop my TikTok.
Just think, if you could sleep with a Kardashian and TikTok it.
We've got Mr. NASCAR to do that for us.
Yeah, well, no, Dan's got the access to do it now, and since he's a kid like Joe, they know how to do this stuff, Steve.
Oh my God! I'm talking about an automatic waste of your life and time making TikTok videos.
Hey, if people will watch them, it gets us more views.
That's right. Yo, these kids love TikTok, man. Got to get on that.
Yeah, the kids love TikTok. Dan loves. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up.
It's the 5th time he said that, and we're still talking.
All right, because people, for some reason, keep watching. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We will see you tomorrow. For Dan Kornhauser, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster.
Wait a minute. Let me ask one more question. Dan, who's the first-round pick tonight? Who's the first player drafted tonight?
Trayvon Walker, edge rusher from Georgia.
Yeah, I don't care because he shouldn't be. Somebody's going to do something stupid. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. For Dan Kornhauser, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth.